I think this one might be more so for me than anybody else, really. Maybe a little bit of both. Who knows? But I woke up this morning, just cried a little bit. Just cried a little bit. Just cried a little bit, but not tears of sadness, which was my favorite part because it's been a while since I've had some like pure tears of joy. Real. Like just unfathomable joy, because it didn't really hit me. I didn't really fathom the position I was in until I woke up this morning and the sun right between the two buildings in front of my apartment was beaming right into my face, and I was like, oh my god, I made it. Like, actually, oh my god, I made it. It's like I moved into this place right when I finished my first year. I've been doing nothing but just go since, that I haven't had the time to actually bask in. Like, this was my dream. I'm actually in the dream that I used to sit and like cry for as a kid. Well, I'd sit in my tiny pink room while some guy I couldn't care less for and couldn't care less for me is asking me for nudes, and I'm beefing with my mom, and I'm getting kicked out, and I'm doing drugs and everything in between. I can't even like imagine being in that spot anymore. And I'm making this video to make a very clear and concise point to that. I say that to say we have very little faith in ourselves sometimes, because we have very little faith in the universe. We have very little faith in God. It's like everything, it's like having this victim mindset that only bad things can happen to you, and things only really started going right, and I say going right because everything is happening for a reason, and rejection is just redirection. But everything only started going, sorry, my roommate's clapping. Everything only started going right once I started seeing the bad things as just simply lessons rather than punishment, undeserved punishment, you know? Either trying to show me something about myself or about the world around me or about the people around me. And that was about it. And it was so much easier to accept that I deserved more when I realized those bad things were never just happening so I could suffer. Because we're not put on this earth to just suffer. That's mindless and useless idea that we possess sometimes. And I don't blame us for having that ideology. It's hard to comprehend something that we can't see. It's hard to believe that things are ultimately happening for our highest good. But they are. They really are. Like, realistically, they are. And I found the most peace in that when I had the least I've ever had. Last year, around March of last year, I literally had $7 to my name. I had no help. I had $7 to my name. OSAP was run out. I didn't have a job. I was leaving my residence. Me and my roommates didn't have anywhere to live. And I wrote down in my journal that we were going to live on an apartment. I'm not going to say my address, obviously, but said number on this street. And I wrote it down like we already had it. Like, I was learning so much about manifestation, but I used to think it was like a little crock of shit, but it's not. It's really not. If you want something enough, not even enough, if you want something, you can simply have it. It's just you that's getting in your way if you don't. It's that belief that you can't have it that's making you not be able to have it. And I realized that after a while. And I realized that from somebody who's not in my life anymore, because as much as she gave me that gift of understanding me and the workings of the universe, she has some major issues, and I learned setting boundaries through her too. I'm getting off topic for a minute, but I'm trying to say this to say I used to have such little faith in the world. Let me spray my face real quick. I used to have such little faith in myself. There's at some point, like, I didn't think I was ever going to really go to school. I got so wrapped up in everything that was going wrong for me that it was hard for me to ever imagine things ever going right. And once I got out of that and I realized all the wrong things got me to this point where I can finally see what I'm meant for, I realized that, like, nothing was really wrong. It was just trying to open my eyes, despite how hard I was trying to keep them shut, you know? And everything has just been moving that same way since. Like, I applied for this job on Indeed, and I never get Indeed jobs. I applied for this job on Indeed for this concert venue. They called me back to go join the job fair, right? And this is so noisy. I got to skip this lineup full of people to go do this interview. Out of the 200 people they interviewed, they picked me. That didn't just happen. I literally wrote it down before I went to the interview. I said, this is the people that I want to work with. this is what's happening right now. I am said employee in this said position, and this is what I'm doing to maintain my income as I live in my new dream apartment. And that's exactly what happened. I didn't even have this apartment yet. I said I had this job. I said I had this apartment when I had nothing but $7 in my bank account and a yoga membership that I'd spent my last few dollars on. That's all I had. That and some unwavering faith. And it got me so far. It's hard to be optimistic. I get that. Like, trust me, I get that. But when you give yourself the chance to be, you open up so many doors that you didn't even know were possible. And I think that's like the most beautiful part about life, is that you can sit and wallow. You can think about all the ways that things haven't gone right for you, or you can think about all the things that you did do right to get to this point where at least you have what you do have. It starts with being grateful for those things, because that's exactly why we can't even acknowledge when we transition into a better place. I was so stressed about this new job that when I was in my apartment, I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm finally living my dream. It was, I'm still not doing enough. And it wasn't until this morning, that's why I cried, where I was finally sitting with myself being like, oh my gosh, this is what I used to cry about at night for. This exact scene. That's my purse over there. That's my Michael Kors. It's my third one. Not that I have $500 to be dropping on Michael Kors, but when I wanted one, the minute I looked on their website, and this was a few years ago, they were having a massive sale. Now I know every year once to buy my Michael Kors. It's stuff like that where it's like, I want to have this so bad. I want to be this person. I want this to show through me. I have desires. And the minute you get out of that headset where it's like, but I could never, before you even get the chance to do something about it, you're already limiting yourself. And that's where we get stuck in our own way. And that's what I had to stop doing for me to be able to live the life that I'm living right now, which is a beautiful one. I was just looking at God and I was like, oh my God, thank you. And I never used to have a relationship with God. I grew up in the Catholic Church and I hated it. I used to like try to fall asleep in the pews and my mom would like flick me awake. I didn't understand it. I was never an atheist, but like I always believed in something bigger than me. I always believed in a higher power, but I was never connected to it until I started taking the time to actually see what was going on around me and kind of answer the call. Because you know when something's pushing at you. We have instincts, we have intuitions, we just ignore them a lot. And that's when, you know, everybody's always saying your ego, your ego, your ego. Being egotistical is one thing, but everybody has an ego. Everybody has that side that thinks they know everything, that blocks off all their opportunities and all their other good chances and all the good things that we can have, because we assume that things are going to be a certain way. We assume that we know the outcomes. We assume that we can predict. We assume that we're God. We're not. And the minute you can let go of that and be like, you know what? I actually don't fucking know anything. That was the most freeing, liberating thing I've ever done in my life. I wrote down in my journal, I was like, I don't know anything. I stopped going to things being like, I know exactly how this is going to turn out. I used to say that all the time. I know exactly how this is going to go. This party's going to stop. I know exactly how this is going to go. I know exactly how this is going to turn out. I know exactly what's going to happen if I go on this date. I know exactly what's going to happen if I take whatever, this, that, and the third. And it would never happen the way that I expected it to happen, but I still kept this mindset as if I knew. And you realize how silly it is. It's like, I've proven time and time again that I'm probably, like, majority of the time, I'm not saying I'm never right, but the things that I'm doubtful of never actually turn out in the poor manner that I think that they will, except for sometimes. And that's when I feel like I speak it out that way, where I speak it out so much that I'm like, oh my God, I manifested it. I made this happen, where it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna bump into this person, you bump into this person. We have so much control and such little control at the same time. And the point of surrendering isn't to stop doing your part and existing in this world. It's to acknowledge what is your part and what isn't your part. And when you acknowledge what isn't your part and you have that blind faith, you can assume the best instead of assuming the worst. You know? Because assuming the worst gets you nowhere. I don't know anyone who's ever assumed the worst was going to happen and a good outcome happened. You know what I mean? Because even if you do assume the worst is going to happen and that doesn't happen, you're not even that grateful for that outcome, because you were just in this mindset, this energy that like bad things are still just going to happen. You're finding something else to talk about that's going to happen, even though that bad thing didn't happen. You know? I don't know if I'm just rambling at this point. But it takes a lot to get out of the framework of feeling like you don't deserve anything in this world, or that we're just on this cruel rock of earth that doesn't want you to have good things. And I don't blame you for feeling that way. We're human at the end of the day. But I'm saying if you really want to get out of that, like if you care to live better than you are, because it takes a lot to want to care to live better than you already are, then it's as simple as just changing the way you really think about things. I like to say it's like being grateful, having a lot of gratitude. That was too much powder I just put under my eye. Having gratitude and unwavering faith. Having gratitude for where you already are and the fact that better things are coming. Having unwavering faith for that thing coming your way. And ultimately just having patience, because sometimes things don't come in the timing that we want them to. And then we assume that, well, they're just not good enough or it's not happening. That's not the case. It's not the case at all. We're just kind of being taught that like things aren't just going to drop from the sky immediately after you ask for them, as soon as you want them, because then you're lacking the one other important thing, which is patience. It really just takes a lot of patience. I was literally like waving goodbye to my roommate when we were leaving our res, and her dad was like, I was like, see you next week, and her dad was like, yeah, right, because we still didn't have a place. Like, we were literally leaving. She was bags packed, and I had a job that I had lined up, the job that I had gotten like 6-7 days after, and I was like, oh my gosh, we still don't have an apartment. I'm gonna have to go back to my mom's in the boonies. I have nowhere to live. But before I got down that train of thoughts and that line of thinking that like, oh my god, this is not gonna work out, I was like, no, I'll see you next week. That's what I told her dad. I was like, I'll see you guys next week, as if we already had the place. And like I said, we ended up getting a place. Literally, this is the place that we wanted. There's this little square. This is the place I have. They're literally owned by it's the same building. They're owned by the same people. It's like literally 10 numbers off, but they're right beside each other. And it's honestly an even better place. My room's bigger, and I have a better ensuite. And our kitchen's bigger. We have an open space. The last place didn't have space for like more furniture than like maybe a tiny couch. We have space for a couch and a table. We had our Christmas tree. We have had a beautiful year. And not once during that year did I think like things aren't gonna work out for me. This isn't gonna work out. I had to completely expel that line of thinking out of my existence for me to start getting the things that I really wanted. And I feel like I'm explaining manifestation to people who already understand it, because I feel like this type of video isn't just going to reach somebody who is going to tell me it's a bunch of hubba-bubba. At this point, you would have clicked off. So at this point, I feel like you know exactly what you need to do, and you know exactly what you need. And maybe this is just your reminder to keep holding that faith, because it's coming for you. It is. There wasn't a single time I gave up. You shouldn't give up either, because what's meant for you is already yours. I cannot stress that enough. I can't say I know. I'm not God. I don't know what he wants for you. I don't know what's in store for you. I don't know what she's trying to send to you, but I'm saying if you have something that you really truly desire, you're not just going to never have that thing. You're just being taught to live in the in-between for a little minute. And you need to kind of remember that if you really, really want it, you know? Is that if you know it's meant for you, it's coming for you. And if it doesn't, something better is. And you'll realize that after, because how many times do you look back at something and you're like, thank God this didn't happen, because then I wouldn't have had ended up here. Thank God I lost XYZ opportunity, because then I never would have had blank. We say that all the time. We say that all the time because it's the truth. Because something better is lined up. Because you know what? I actually did, as much as I did manifest that job, I didn't like it. I hated it. I had the worst summer, and I gained so much weight, and I was drinking so much alcohol, and I was hanging out with like weird old ass men, and it was just not cute. And now I'm really glad that I'm out of it, and I'm finally doing my content, and I'm a successful content creator. I have 8 subscribers right now, but I'm still successful, and I see success as the fact that I'm even showing up, because even when I was at that other job, this is all I wanted to be doing. And now I'm finally allowing myself to do it. So you can put the doubts in your head. The doubts can exist. It's just taking the time to push back on them instead of entertaining them. You can stop the thought where it's at and be like, no, actually, I see so much for myself. So does God. So does the universe. And I know it's coming. The happiness isn't going to come when the thing arrives. It's having the happiness before it comes, so you can really feel that thing when it does arrive for you. Oh my gosh, she's turning up the TV even louder, so I gotta wrap it up. Anyway, sorry, this video is kind of loud with the background, but I'm gonna end it here because I feel like that's all I have to really say. I love you so much. If you need to hear that you were loved, it takes a lot of self-love to get past the point of self-doubt, and sometimes you need to hear from someone else to really feel it yourself. So if nobody has told you today, I love you. I love you, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I lost my handheld fan. Somebody stole it from me at that last job, that fuck-ass job. So, that's not the powder puff I needed. Remember to have faith. Remember to believe in yourself and believe that things are working for you all the time. Because they really are. And just know that anybody you do see having the world that you want, they're not special. They were just delusional enough to be like, you know what? I can make this happen. And even in the roughest of times, they still kept up with them. Anyways, goodbye.